Feel the vibes.
When your music rocks and your station rocks.
What would I do without your smile now?
Ready, set, it's going down.
Right here at Yes Media Academy Radio. The rhythm goes on. We raise the roof all day, every day.
A very good evening to you out there, and thank you for joining us on Yes News Now from the studios of Yes Smile Radio, the first media academy radio. In the headline, federal government to repatriate over 10,000 stranded Nigerians. Committee of Vice Chancellor says removal of Unilag VC like hatchet job. DSS cautions against inciting unguarded statements. Ogun lifts weekend lockdown, OK's reopening of worship centers. And from the exciting world of sport, former Super Eagles defender named toughest opponent. My name is Olatunde Ido. Good evening. Federal government today reiterated its resolve to ensure the repatriation of over 10,000 Nigerian girls who are stranded in Lebanon, Saudi Arabia, Oman and other Middle East countries. The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Saida Umar Farouk, gave the assurance via a statement signed by her Special Advisor on Strategic Communication, Halima Oyelade. The minister, who frowned at the plight of the affected Nigerians stranded across the globe, however, tasked Nigerian youths to take advantage of the various government interventions put in place to aid them. She also expressed delight over the return of 198 Nigerians who were hitherto stranded in Lebanon but have regained their freedom and returned home. According to her, the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, along the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons (NAPTIP) and the National Emergency Management Agency (NEMA) received the returnees on Wednesday 12th and Thursday 13th of August 2020. The newly appointed Vice Chancellor of the University of Lagos, Unilag Akoka, Professor Theophilus Soyombo, said he has resumed office. He told newsmen in an exclusive interview today that he resumed immediately. His appointment in acting capacity takes immediate effect. Professor Soyombo, a professor of sociology at the Faculty of Social Sciences of the university, was appointed yesterday morning by the Governing Council of the university following termination of the appointment of Professor Oluwatoyin Ogundipe by the same council at its emergency meeting in Abuja on Wednesday. When asked for his reaction on the event that led to his emergence, he said he will talk about that much later. Meanwhile, the Committee of Vice Chancellors of Universities has condemned the removal of the Vice Chancellor of the University of Lagos, Unilag, Professor Oluwatoyin Ogundipe, without due process. The committee also condemned the appointment of an acting vice chancellor for the university outside the university's three deputy vice chancellors. Professor Yakub Ochefu, Secretary General CVC, expressed the view of the committee while fielding questions from newsmen earlier today in Abuja. Reports that Unilag's governing council, headed by Dr. Wali Babalaki SAN, removed Ogundipe at its meeting in Abuja on Wednesday. The removal was over allegation of infractions and gross misconduct. The council appointed Professor Theophilus Omololu Soyombo of the Faculty of Social Sciences as the acting vice chancellor. The Department of State Services (DSS) today cautioned against the use of inciting and unguarded statements capable of causing a breakdown of law and order. The Public Relations Officer of the service, Dr. Peter Afunaya, gave the warning in a statement in Abuja. He said the service had on June 27 alerted the nation about desperate efforts by some notable personalities to use their exalted positions to achieve the selfish goal. Afunaya said the DSAs had revealed that part of the orchestration was to engage in divisive acts as well as use inciting statements to pit one group against another in the country. According to him, with the latest occurrences in the country, Nigerians may have no reason to doubt the service's earlier pronouncement. Dr. Obadiah Malafia's recent outburst aimed at playing to the gallery and creating unnecessary tension is a confirmation of his group's desperation to breach the peace. The Lagos State High Court in Ikeja today dismissed the no-case submission filed by co-defendants to alleged kidnap kingpin Chukwudumeme Nwamadike alias Evans. The court, in a ruling by Justice Akim Oshode, held that the prosecution had made out a prima facie case against the defendants, which required that they put in a defense. The defendants are facing trial over the kidnap of the chief executive officer of Maiden Pharmaceutical Limited, Donatus Dunu, in 2007. The prosecution said they collected 223,000 euros in ransom before freeing the businessman after 88 days in captivity. The 6 defendants are Evans, Uche Amadi, Ogechi Uchechukwu, Chilaka Ifeanyi, Okechukwu Nwachukwu, and Victor Aduba. Due to his inability to pay legal fees, Evans had been having difficulty retaining a lawyer. He had changed lawyers 5 times. At the July 3, 2020 proceedings in the case, his co-defendants Uchechukwu Ifeanyi, Nwachukwu, and Aduba, who had lawyers, had filed no case submission, praying the court to set them free. But in a ruling earlier today, Justice Oshode held that their no case submission lacked merit. The Ogun State government has suspended the weekend lockdown in the state and ordered the reopening of worship centers. Governor Dakwa Abiodun disclosed this in an update about the state's efforts at fighting the COVID-19 pandemic. He said worship centers must adhere to certain safety protocols, like ensuring all congregants wear face masks, provision of adequate running water, and contamination of the worship places before and after services, among others. Further speaking, Governor Abiodun stated that the duration of religious services should not be more than 1.5 hours. For worship centers with over 200 worshippers in a given service, the governor explained that they must seek further clearance with the state government. Most Muslims are advised to perform ablution at home and go to mosque with their personal praying mat, he said, adding that the administration of Holy Communion should be devoid of sharing of any item and must follow COVID-19 protocols. While calling on religious leaders to cooperate with the state government, Governor Dakwa Abiodun warned that there will be sanctions for any erring worship centers which defies the guidelines issued by his administration. You're still listening to Yes News Now, coming to you live from the studios of Yes Ma Radio, coming straight to Oyo State. The people of Shaki in Shaki West local government area of Oyo State are currently in fear and trepidation over the death of a custom officer who was reportedly killed in a clash in the ancient town yesterday. It was learned that the custom officer was killed after the death of a man who died during a face-off between the task force and some elements. Following the tragedy, the Okere of Shaki, Oba Khalid Olabisi, reportedly imposed a curfew on the town to avert further breakdown of law and order. The police public relations officer, Oyo State Command, Olugbenga Fadeyi, who confirmed the incident, the custom officer was a member of the JTF and not in the custom patrol team as alleged. Fadeyi, who said he had yet to have the details of the story, added the area commander of Shaki had already positioned men in strategic locations in a bid to forestall further disturbance in the community. A source who spoke anonymously said the man who was killed was a smuggler. He added that it was during reprisal that some aggrieved persons in the town attacked the custom office, killing one of their men. And going straight to the exciting world of sport, former Inter Milan and AC Milan defender Taribo West has named former Lyon striker Florian Morris and ex-Chelsea striker Didier Drogba as the two strikers he dreaded most during his playing career. Renowned for his unusual and colorful hairstyles, the former Super Eagles star admitted he had tough times confronting both strikers. While speaking, Taribo said he had problems stopping Morris in front, though he wasn't popular globally. He was with Lyon and twice he played against him. He was everywhere. He said he think he scored 2 or 3 goals for the first time he faced him. He further stated that he also had problems with Drogba when he was playing for Marseille. We also met in the European Cup and he was brought on in the second half with the game still goalless, but before we knew it, he had scored 2 goals. From that day, Drogba was at the top of the list of players he had problem with. Taribo added that those were the 2 guys he dreaded most. Every other big player he prepared for them. He took time out to study their game and he came out on top. He was never afraid of Alan Shearer, Ronaldo, Thierry Henry, Samuel Eto'o, Titi Camara and the rest because he prepared strongly for them. Morris floored him twice, so he said he was the striker he dreaded most. And that'll be all on Yes News Now, but before I go, let me bring you a recap of the stories I brought to you earlier in the news. Federal government to repatriate over 10,000 stranded Nigerians. Committee of Vice Chancellor says removal of Unilag Vice Chancellor like hatchet job. Department of State Services cautions against inciting unguarded statement. Ogun lifts weekend lockdown, OK's reopening of worship centers. And from the exciting world of sport, former Super Eagles defender named toughest opponent. The news was produced and edited by Prosper Abolade Shoumi and delivered by Olatunde Ido. Many thanks for listening. The Yoruba version of Yes News Now comes up immediately after this. On behalf of the entire transmission team, good evening.